Hello everyone, welcome to the Cloud Careers YouTube channel. In the previous video, I have demonstrated in order to become a cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer or a cloud DevOps engineer, it is very important to know Linux. So as a part of the series of videos that we are going to release, we are going to release Linux learning videos. So as a part of that series, this is the session 2 of the Linux learning tutorial. In session 1, we have understood the importance of Linux. What is a flavor in Linux? What is a distribution in Linux? In this session, in order to learn Linux, how can we provision a server, or what is the platform that we can use to learn Linux? So we already decided that we want to go with learning Linux on the top of a server, a live server on the top of a cloud environment. So in order to create a server in cloud, AWS cloud, you need to have an account in AWS cloud. We already made a video on how to create an AWS cloud account. AWS, as a part of the free tier, it offers a 1-year free tier account. So let's assume that we have an account. So once we have an account, I would like to show you how to create a server in cloud. And second thing, if you want to create a server, you can create that server on AWS cloud. And in particularly in Linux, if you want to connect to the server, if you want to connect to the server, if you want to connect to a Linux server, Linux offers 2 ways of authentication. Authentication is nothing but how you connect using telling who you are. Okay, so one of the way is, every one of you would be aware, one is username and password. And another way is using passwordless authentication. Even though this is famous, passwordless authentication, but with respect to the security standards that they follow in the company, this is not the secure way, and this requires a lot of infrastructure to establish. So what is passwordless authentication? We'll talk about in the second half of the session. So first, I would like to proceed with creating a server and creating it with a username and password. So let me show you how to create a username, how to create a server with a username and a password. And as a part of it, I am going to use an AMI to create a Linux server AMI. I would like to use an AMI called as Linux Learning AMI CentOS 7. So CentOS is a flavor of Linux. It's a clone of Linux, so which we are going to use it. Okay, this is an AMI which is available in a region called as North Virginia. Okay, so out of all the available regions in Amazon, I have placed this image on the top of Amazon North Virginia region. So let's try to connect to that and let's try to create a server. So I have already signed in. All you need to do is launch a server, click on the launch instances, or you can also search for the service called as EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Cloud Compute. So this is a service in AWS which offers infrastructure as a service. Now I would like to create a server. Click on instance running, and on the top right corner you have something called as launch instances. Click on the launch instance. Let's try to name the server. So always try to keep the name of the server which makes sense. Linux Learning Server. Scroll down. So browse AMIs, click on browse AMIs, click on community AMIs. I also want you to update you that the AMI that we are going to use is available in the North Virginia region. So please ensure you're on the North Virginia region and search for the AMI Linux Learning AMI CentOS 7. So this is the AMI published by us, which works with username and password. By default, always Amazon ensures and insists you to create a server with username and a key, which is nothing but passwordless authentication. But we want to bypass that. We want to create a server with a username and password. This is an AMI which is published by us to ensure you practice with username and password, which is a better way of authentication. Click on it. And T2 Micro is an instance which is a part of the free tier, which gives you 1 CPU and 1 gig of memory. And all you need to do is just in the key pair section, okay, you need to select on proceed without a key pair, because this is the AMI which you have selected works with username and password. You don't have to do anything else. Just click on launch the instance. Your instance will be launched. And now this AMI works with a username and password, and the username and password is CentOS, and the password is password123, where P as in capital letter. Okay, let me try to show you how to connect to the server. Come here, my server is successfully launched. Click on it. Now, starting from tomorrow, we are going to practice on the top of this server. So my server status is in the pending state. When the status is pending, that means the server resources that are needed to start the server were not yet allocated by Amazon. Okay, so since it is a part of the free tier account, it takes close to 20 to 30 seconds of time. It all based on the availability of resources at that point of time in the Amazon data center. Okay, in Windows, okay, so before it comes up, I want to tell you a couple more points. In Windows, if you want to connect to any of the Windows server, for example, if this is your Windows server, if this is your Windows server, which is present in some data center sitting at your home, if you want to connect to this computer from your computer, for example, from your computer, if you want to connect, so for example, this is your computer, you're working from home. And if you want to connect to this server, Windows server, on your Windows computer, you use RDP, right? So RDP stands for Remote Desktop Protocol. So if you want to connect to Windows server, you mention the IP address of it, and then you'll mention the username and password. So type the Windows button and say RDP, Remote Desktop Connection. You'll enter the IP address, and then you'll enter the username and password, right? This is Windows way of authentication. For example, if this is a Linux server, okay, so Linux uses SSH. Okay, Linux uses SSH as its connection mechanism. Okay, so if you want to connect to any of the server, you need to have SSH client installed on your computer. Okay, so you need to install SSH client on your computer. So one of the most famous SSH client is Putty. Even it is accepted on all your corporate computers. It's a very simple software. Just say Putty. Okay, download. If you are using a MacBook, you don't have to do all that. All you need to do is just download it. Okay, so click this. Again, if you're using the MacBook, you can use your default terminal. So all you need to do is just select the 64-bit and then install it. That's it. It's a very straightforward thing. And once you have installed, if you type the Putty, you'll get it. Okay, you need to enter the username here and then enter. That's all. So let's assume that my server is up. If you see the status of your server as running, that means the server would have come up. And if the status checks also, it should say passed. System status checks, which is nothing but software checks, instance status checks. Instance status checks, software checks, and system status checks, hardware checks, both needs to be operational. Then only there are high chances you can connect. Let's try to connect to the server using the public IP. Ensure you copy the public IP address of the server. Copy this, open the Putty. As I mentioned, the username and password of the servers are CentOS and password at the rate 121.123. Click on accept. So when you are connecting to the server for the very first time from the source of your machine, it says that, hey, I'm trying to connect to the server for the very first time. Do you want to register the fingerprint or not? This is the prompt that is given to you by your server. So your system fingerprint will be registered on the top of the server. So from the second time when you try to connect from this machine, you don't get the prompt. Accept. Now it is asking you to enter the username and password. Enter the username as CentOS and the password as PASSWRD123, where P as in capital letters. Enter. That's it. Now you are connected to the server. Who am I? It tells CentOS. Okay, this is how you can connect to your server with a username and password with the AMI CentOS 7 Linux Learning AMI. And this will be the AMI which we'll be using to practice Linux in the upcoming sessions. Okay, that's it. As I said, in order to become a cloud engineer and DevOps engineer, Linux is must. So to learn Linux, we need to have a server, and this is how you can create a server which works with username and password. Let's assume I want to create a server with keys. Okay, passwordless keys is also one of the most famous way, but which is not widely used in the enterprise. So passwordless authentication works in two ways. Whenever you say passwordless authentication, okay, it is referring to passwordless authentication. Passwordless authentication, or it's also called as key pair based authentication. Okay, password based authentication or key pair based authentication. In this type of communication, we are going to generate two keys, two files, okay, which is nothing but public file, which is nothing but a public key, and second thing is private key. Okay, so it is just like your lock and key concept. For example, lock and key. Okay, for example, if you take these images, in order to open this lock, you need to have the exact key. In order to open this lock, you need to have the exact key. Okay, if you are using one lock and if you're using one key, it will not work. So the key and the lock are combination. Similarly, in Linux, you are going to generate two files, and one of the file is public key and another file is private key. Public key is not a sensitive file and private key is a sensitive file, which means when you want to create any server, you need to tell that I want to use this as a public key. That means you are going to place your public key on the top of your server while creating. For example, once you generate the key pair, you need to mention your public key here. Okay, public key is not private. It is just like the lock that you have locked your apartment. Key is just the key which you will be using to unlock it, which is private. So which you should not be exposed to anyone. When you join any company, sometimes they'll ask you, hey, generate your key pair and give me your key. At the time, the moment you give your private key, they'll easily understand that you have not worked anywhere. Okay, it's a very important thing. So if someone asks you to generate a key pair and give the key, you need to give you the public key. Okay, this public key is something which will be placed on the server or on any of the Linux machine, and private key is something which will be kept on your local machine or a place which is sensitive. Okay, you're gonna keep it here, private key. Okay, let me try to put it in a red color just to ensure this is very sensitive. All right, now let me try to show you how to generate it and how to connect it. Okay, this time I would like to create the server with a username and a key. It's a very straightforward thing. Again, let me try to launch the server. This time I would like to mention it as a Linux server with keys. All right, scroll down, scroll down. This time you're gonna mention proceed with key pair. But this time, these are the keys which are already there on my AWS account. Let's assume that you don't have any account. I would like to mention it as this. Okay, learn Linux is the key pair name. Now it's going to generate a public key and private key. Public key will be there on your AWS cloud and private key will be downloaded to your computer. Now you need to choose two types of private key formats. There are two types of private key formats. One is PEM and another is PPK. If you're using PPK to connect, if you're using PuTTY to connect to Linux machines, then the expected file format is PPK. PPK stands for PuTTY private key. So create a private key. It's going to generate a key pair. If you see this, the key pair is generated. Now it has, when you're launching the machine, just try to mention it as a learn Linux. That's all. You need to launch the instance. Before that, ensure you select the AMI. And I already mentioned the AMI to use is Linux Learning AMI CentOS 7 in the North Virginia region. You come here and just search for the particular AMI in the community AMIs. Linux Learning AMI CentOS 7. Search for that. Select the server. Now this time I would like to mention proceed with key pair with the learning Linux. Okay, learn Linux. Now launch the instance. This time this will work with a username and key. You need to supply the key. Now the server is started. Let's wait for it that come to the running state. Okay, it is in the pending state, which means the resources are not yet allocated. Once the resources are allocated, then you should be able to connect to it. Okay, so pending state is nothing but your request has been placed with Amazon, but Amazon has not yet allocated resources to you. It might be based on a lot of factors. In my case, I'm using a free tier account. If you're using a free tier account and if you're using a free tier instance, usually in general, it will be given little less priority because that is as per the available capacity in the Amazon data center or Amazon resource center. They're gonna give you the resources. So let's wait for it. Yes, it took 30 seconds, but it has started the server and the status checks are showing as both of them are initializing. You need to wait for 10 seconds and then you can check that. So all you need to do is come here, copy the public IP address. Now open your Putty app. Now place the IP address of it. Now, earlier you have created a server with username and password, so you don't have to supply the private key. Now this time you are creating a server with private key, right? So remember this point, just learn this as a concept of learning, but in reality, when you join any company, majority of the times you don't see key-based authentication. Instead, you use something called as password-based authentication, which I have shown. All right. Now, since I also want to show you how to connect using passwordless authentication, you need to supply the private key. As I demonstrated, public key will be there on the top of the server and private key will be there on the top of your machine because private key is sensitive. Okay, just like if you want to lock your apartment gate, what you do, you'll put the lock to the uh, mm, panel, and then you'll put the lock and you'll lock it with the key that you have, right? And you'll put the keys in your pocket. Similar way, this private key is nothing but the keys that you put in your pocket, which is extremely sensitive. If you show me the keys, I can understand the pattern and I can duplicate it, right? So it's a very sensitive thing. It's just like telling your password. Okay, my server came up. All I need to do is in the Putty left pane, you have an option called as SSH. Click the plus button on the SSH. And then you have an option called as auth. Click on the auth. Now you have an option to browse. Browse the PPK key, which is nothing but the Putty private key. Open it. That's all. Now it will ask you, you're connecting, your server will say, this machine is connecting to me for the very first time. Do you want me to register this or not? I'll say accept. Now it asks you enter the username. I don't enter the password. I'll hit say enter. It will be connected. Who am I? CentOS. This is how we can connect to the Linux server using both username and password and the passwordless based authentication. Hope Linux server connecting to Linux server and the authentication mechanism sounds interesting to you. If you like the content, please hit the like button and please try to subscribe to the channel. From the next 8 to 10 days, we are going to publish a lot of videos that are related to Linux. So in case if you don't want to subscribe, please hit a like button. And if you like the content, please try to hit a comment. Thank you. Signing off, and we'll see you in the next session. Bye.